Welcome, dear listeners, to an episode where we explore some truly tragic, yet astonishingly ridiculous ways people have met their end. It's a journey through the annals of history and the modern era, where the only thing more tragic than the loss of life is the sheer absurdity of the circumstances. Buckle up, this is going to be a wild ride through the how not to guide of life. 1. The man who was struck by lightning while trying to prove God doesn't exist. Our first tale takes us back to 2010, where a man named Jim, who was apparently on a mission to prove that God doesn't exist, decided to do so by daring the heavens themselves. Yes, you heard that right. Jim stood outside during a thunderstorm, holding a metal rod high into the air and shouting, "Bring it on, God!" As if the universe wasn't already full of natural irony, Jim was struck by lightning. It's almost as if nature itself was saying, "Well, if you're going to test me, I'll give you a shocking answer." Jim's valiant attempt to defy divine power ended not with a bang, but with an electrocution. 2. The juggler who juggled one thing too many. Next, we have a tragic story from the world of circus arts. A juggler, let's call him Bob, was performing his routine, juggling flaming torches with an impressive flair. Unfortunately, Bob decided that juggling flaming torches wasn't enough of a thrill, so he added a chainsaw into the mix. Yes, a chainsaw, because nothing screams professional like combining high-risk objects. In a moment that can only be described as a self-inflicted act of Darwinism, Bob misjudged a throw, and well, let's just say the chainsaw didn't take kindly to being juggled. Bob became a rather literal example of why one should never juggle with chainsaws. 3. The internet sensation who tried to prove the power of selfies. In the age of selfies, some people will go to extreme lengths to get that perfect shot. Take the case of a man named Darren, who decided that the best place to take a selfie was atop a moving train. Because apparently, standing on a moving train while it's in motion wasn't thrilling enough, Darren added a new layer of risk, trying to take a selfie while balancing precariously on top. It didn't end well. A train moving at full speed doesn't really care about the angles of your selfie. In his quest for online fame, Darren became another reminder that sometimes the perfect shot isn't worth the perfect fall. Number 4, the stealthy robber, who was actually a very bad swimmer. Our next story involves a thief who decided that robbing a bank and escaping via canal was a foolproof plan. Let's call him Steve. Steve had the bright idea of stealing a large sum of money and then escaping by swimming through a canal. What Steve didn't factor in was his own lack of swimming skills. Despite being an amateur swimmer at best, he made a valiant attempt to navigate the murky waters with a bag of stolen cash. As you might imagine, the combination of a heavy bag of cash and poor swimming skills didn't lead to a successful getaway. Instead, it led to a soggy, cashless end in the canal. Sometimes crime doesn't pay, and in this case, it sank. Number 5. The champion, hot dog eater, who choked on a hot dog. Competitive eating, a sport where the goal is to consume as much food as possible in the shortest amount of time. Our story here involves a man named Paul, who was an undefeated champion in the hot dog eating contest circuit. Unfortunately, Paul's skills didn't extend to chewing his food. In a twist of irony, Paul managed to choke on one of the very hot dogs that made him famous. It's almost poetic, eaten by the very thing you consumed with such gusto. Paul's grand feast ended not in a triumph of gastronomic prowess, but in a tragic reminder that sometimes the very thing you excel at can also be your undoing. 6. The DIY inventor who invented his own demise. Finally, let's turn our attention to a DIY enthusiast named Ted, who had an idea so innovative it was bound to make history. Ted decided to create his own homemade rocket to launch himself into the stratosphere. Because of course, using professional equipment and proper safety measures was just too mainstream. Ted's homemade rocket was, unsurprisingly, not up to NASA standards. Instead of a successful launch, Ted's experiment ended with a spectacular, albeit tragic, crash landing. Sometimes, the best inventions are the ones that never leave the drawing board. Ted's innovation served as a vivid demonstration of why DIY rocket science might not be the best idea for those without a solid engineering background. So, There you have it, folks. A parade of the most embarrassingly dumb ways people have managed to meet their ends. It's a testament to the sheer creativity, or lack thereof, that human beings can exhibit in their final moments. These stories are a sobering reminder that sometimes the most tragic outcomes come from the most absurd and preventable circumstances. Let's take these tales to heart and perhaps think twice before attempting that daring stunt, experimenting with dangerous objects, or defying the laws of nature. Remember, life is precious, and there's no need to test fate for the sake of a thrill or a laugh. Stay safe, stay smart, and always think twice before juggling chainsaws or climbing on moving trains. Because sometimes it's better to leave the danger to the professionals, or at least to someone who knows better.